Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. Coming at you with a piece of crap laptop. Sorry, everybody. Don't even think about how weird my audio sounds. Oh, he ended up in prison? Your whole family's messed up, man. It's like, what's wrong with your family? And we've got Jordan Christensen on the podcast.
Hello. I can't think of a quote.
You can make up one. Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And we got
yeah.
Cameron Mickle on the podcast.
Come here, I love that he's like, who assaulted you? That guy did. In there. Which
What
one?
is
Come here, you.
Yeah, what a screwed up family. And then he's like, the girl's like, well, this guy is like, whoa, hey, watch what you say around the kid, all right? He's like swearing at her the whole movie. Hey, watch what you're saying around the girl. Freaking hilarious. Guys, today we're reviewing The Chaser. No, that's not a reference to a drink. It is a reference to a serial
Well,
killer.
she wasn't swearing. She said, and I'll have to cut
Oh,
this.
yeah, I remember. No, you don't
Okay.
need to cut it. I know exactly what she was talking about. I just watched this movie like 2 hours ago. Freaking heck, dude. This movie, The Chaser. Let's talk about it, guys. This movie came out in 2008. Man, it's got such a good movie
Are you looking
poster.
at the IMDb?
Yeah, I'm looking at the IMDb, but what a great like movie poster. The guy's face is like, and then like the other half of his face is in the hand. It's so good. It says a disgraced ex-policeman who runs a small ring of finds himself in a race against time when one of his women go missing. As I like to call it, a pimp with a heart of gold. What a great family film. Good for everybody. Good fun for the whole family. Guys, what was it like watching this movie? Oh, and Jordan loves it and Cameron loves it when I try to do. Hong-jin is the director, and the writers were Won Jan Hong. Bet you didn't know that. It's got a few actors maybe you've heard of. I actually don't know if I recognize any of them. Kim Yoon Seok, Ha Jung Woo, Seo Young Hee, and Kim Yoo Jing. Cool.
I believe the main guy is in Yellow Sea, if I'm not mistaken. He's one of the gangster bosses.
Let me look it up. Because if he's not, you are a racist.
That's Cameron. Cameron's like, isn't that the same detective in Memories of Murder? And Colton said that to Cameron. Racist.
I'll just
Oh
get
yeah, he is in the Yellow Sea. So
Boom.
Jordan,
I was right.
man,
I
you were
recognize my Asian
lucky.
actors. Thank you very much. They're wait, right? They're considered
Say
Asian?
it.
right
Cameron,
after saying that,
yeah, yeah.
everything you just
Oh,
said
I'm
is
not racist.
discredited.
It's one of the
Well,
Jordan,
it's
I
Asian.
know my Asian. They're
I
Asian,
know my
right?
Asians.
well, no,
They're
because
Asian, right?
Koreans are Asian. I know Japanese and Chinese are considered Asian, right? Now I'm like, and
Yeah,
Koreans are too. Okay.
Correct, because they're part
yeah.
of Asia.
That's part of Asia. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
No, oh, they're not. Sorry, I thought they. Uh,
Oh, jeez.
That's insane.
The Chaser. Oh, this movie. Yeah, I think I've realized that Tom Cruise is onto something. Like people
I
running,
literally
people,
mentioned that to Cameron. I'm like, I
people
bet.
running in movies
He's like, I
is
bet
like
Tom
so
Cruise would
exciting.
like this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
tell Cameron.
People running in movies is so exciting.
Yeah.
Car chases not all that exciting, but like people like just full on sprinting, it's just so exciting. It's just like it's like puts you in the makes me want to go jog while I'm watching it,
Yeah.
which would be a good exercise movie.
It-
Just
yeah. Well, what was surprising is 30 minutes in, he catches him. And Colton was
yes,
watching it with us, and he's like, what?
yeah,
Like, he's
yeah. I
already
did not
caught him?
expect caught him,
Yeah.
kicking him, punching him,
And
and
it
then
cut.
like 5 more minutes in, he's like, I killed the women.
I
What?
know.
What
I
did you
love.
just say? What did you just say? Uh, you just said you killed them.
I
Yeah.
didn't sell him. I
I
killed
did
him.
so. I killed them. Trails off.
And I love too that's another part, Cameron, that reminds me of Prisoners when he whispered, I killed him. And it's the
Yeah.
same part when he's like, they didn't cry when I left them. You're just
They didn't
like,
cry when I left them.
rewind that. What did he say?
And then 19 police officers are trying to pull Hugh Jackman off of a special needs kid.
Yeah, and then they had a similar scene in this movie where
Yeah.
they had like
All the
10 officers,
policemen. Yeah.
grabbing him at the same
Yeah, when he
time.
kept asking, he's like, is it Kim Seon? Is it?
Yeah.
You
It's like,
sold her.
yeah. Oh, and
Oh
then
my
the other
gosh.
part I said that reminded me of Prisoners, Cameron, was the dog when he like scared the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Dude,
I'm
for
like,
me,
that dog noticed a predator when it saw one. Holy fudge.
dude, like, so I'm gonna get into two of my favorite things. One thing is
Well,
the
we haven't
scene
even
where,
talked about what it was like.
oh yeah, what was it like? I watched this movie a long time ago. Jordan, you recommended it, right? And then
I think you had seen it before I had even seen it.
Oh, maybe I watched it and then I told you guys to watch it. But yeah, it was like I was like, why? Because I had watched like
Did you see The Wailing before this? I feel like you watched like all his stuff before I had even seen it.
I watched The Wailing. That was something on
Mhm.
Netflix I watched. But like I just got on this huge kick because I was looking at like movies to watch and Wailing was recommended and I was like, oh, okay, good. I watched it and then like I was curious about the director and some of the actors because like Koreans, man, they make the fetching bomb diggity of movies, man. They subvert my expectations. They're so well acted and they're so interesting. I get so excited when I see that logo of that little happy box at the
Yeah.
beginning. I'm like, yeah, it's another foreign Korean. I guess every one of them goes through that process, or it's like the same company that makes these movies. But I'm like, their movies are freaking amazing. I
Yeah.
just,
South Korea's A24.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Or Sin Coffee, right? Like I just get excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a freaking ride, you know?
Uh-huh.
Pretty sure it's come up in like every movie that I can recall as of late. Like Bong Joon-ho, I think he has the same. Or I wonder if that's just like the film of, Korea or whatever, right? Like that might just be a logo that they put in.
But be careful,
Or
Ty. They might come after you because I said our
they're
was
all,
Bollywood and it was not.
yeah, right, yeah. And that's just because you're uneducated. So thank you, thank you, listeners. Keep educating our brother. He's way
Right?
ignorant.
Manu.
It's like, and you want to know, woefully ignorant. None of us have actually went to film school, so we're all reviewing
Wow.
movies
I took
podcast.
I took an intro to film class.
I also
I,
got
I I went to a junior year of psychology, so I know what's up going on there.
That's an elite goal. Oh, I love that quote.
So I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so then
I work in the
rewatching.
post office, so you know I'm unstable.
What I love about South Korean films is I forget everything because I don't know the language. So like the story beats and everything, I forget them, and I'm watching it for the first time. So my goodness, I don't think I'm ever gonna watch anything that's not South Korean again. Seriously, it's so good.
it's like
I
watching it
love
for the
it.
first time.
Yeah, I'm watching it for the first time. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? I was like, and then I texted Jordan. I was like, is this the one with the this, and this? And he goes, no, no, that's a different one. And I'm like, oh, but this is the one with this. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And I was like, holy smokes, I can't wait to watch this. Because I
But
told him, I was
the
like,
one you had mentioned, Midnight, actually kind of reminds me of that. They got the whole police station scene where you just,
Midnight. Yeah, that was the deaf one, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, those two are very similar. These two are very similar. The Midnight and this one.
Yeah, these two are like Memoir of a Murder and Memories of Murder.
Yeah, like those two movies are similar. Yeah, these
And
Yeah.
two are similar. It's like
and this
a
one has
race
a
against
little bit
time.
of I Saw the Devil in there. Just the
Yes, yes, a very similarity to
at
I Saw
least
the
the same
Devil.
depressing ending. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, getting back to it, yeah, it's like watching it all over again. So I love it. How about you, Karen?
Yeah, I think I watched for the first time, what, Jordan, like 8 months ago? Something like
Yeah,
that.
See,
It's
we
been the
must
last.
have been on a kick because I feel like we watched like all those movies at the same time. Like it was like Bedeviled, it was Yellow Sea, it was
Yeah, this was
Parasite,
when Jordan
all
was
of them.
like, trying to just show me as many like, like scarring movies as possible. So he's like, we watch like Bedeviled, this,
I
Old
know. I
Boy,
think everyone in South Korea needs therapy. Like their movies
yeah,
are so messed
a,
up.
a Bittersweet Life, and then also,
Yeah, Bittersweet Life. See, yeah, see now all these
The
movies are starting to
Cure.
come back. Like
yeah,
Cure. Yeah,
Cure,
we were watching like tons
golly.
of them. We were just on this South Korean kick for sure.
And yeah, and I don't think
Although
any of them.
Cure might be Chinese now that I said
No,
that.
the Japanese. It's
Or
Japanese.
Japanese, yeah.
Although
So
nothing could be more depressing and messed up than Old Boy, but golly. And I just remember enjoying it, and I put it in my top 100, and then it kind of over time like slipped out because I just couldn't remember a whole lot about it. Also just because of having watching so many like insane South Korean films, kind of like Ty was mentioning, it's just like I'm like, oh, they're starting to blend together. I'm like, which one was which? And I personally love Memoir of a Murder and Memories of Murder, um,
oh,
over those, and Parasite. So those are probably like my three favorite Korean films. And then
yeah.
like the other ones, I'm like, oh yeah, they're good. I really like
Emergency
The Wailing.
Declaration, Wailing was good. Yeah, those
Yeah.
ones. Like like you never leave like, oh, that was a waste of time. Like I'm always
Yeah.
like, oh man, it was
Yeah. I
great
don't think I've
movie.
ever given a single one of those movies anything below 3 stars or like
Yeah,
6 out of 10.
yeah.
Um, and then rewatching for the pod, I, um, at first I was like, well, first off, I was like, how is this even in my top 100? I don't remember anything about it. And then, like
And
watching
then
it,
and then the
it like,
moment when the key fits in the lock and he's like, oh,
yeah,
it's like I love this movie. I
no,
fucking love it.
and then I'm just expecting him to get shot when he's swinging back the hammer, and then he's just unloading on her, and I was like, oh, now I can see maybe why it started to drop out of my top 100. I'm like,
Uh,
this movie is so dark and heavy, and then it finished, and I'm like, oh, I remember, because to me, like, I don't care about like the law and everything. If a serial killer movie doesn't end with like either it has to be completely ambiguous and maybe they got away, or it has to just be like such a satisfying like revenge kill that I'm like, oh man. So I definitely think the dude bled out, but hammer to the head is
well, Cameron, you haven't shown me one single shred of
shred of
evidence that that's
evidence,
the
yeah.
case. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun rewatching it with Jordan today.
Yeah.
It was I had a similar experience to Ty because I kept being like, I don't remember anything. And then the moment that I saw the bathroom, I was like, wait, is this the one? I was like, with the girl, and then okay. And then I was like remembering every single bit. But it was also funny because like we were watching with Colton for the first time, and then when he gets caught, I'm like, we're 30 minutes in. I'm like, does he escape? Well, at first when he was chasing after him, like he gets away, and then he catches him, and I'm like, and I'm like, okay, but then he's gonna get away when he like because of the commotion. And then I'm like, no, he gets taken into custody, and he's like confessing, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna play the crazy card. But then I love we always joke, we were joking that like there has to be at least one drop kick in every South Korean film because man, do they love their drop kicks? Just like running.
Just yeah.
It's
So
like so
exciting, dude.
yeah. But yeah, it was crazy. The second viewing, and I mean, there's some insanely beautiful shots and just like so much about it that I'm like, I see why it's in my top 200. But I told Jordan, I said, but also it's never going to grace my top 100 ever again because of just how, oof, it's just a hard watch.
Yeah. I'll just get into what it was like for me. The
Yeah.
reason I had come across this one is because after watching like, Memories of Murder and all these other amazing South Korean films, I started YouTubing like top 10 best Korean films. And that's why we've been on such a binge of Korean movies because I was just like, and this one was actually on the top of a lot of lists. Because I would just check everybody's top list. And so I was like, well, I definitely need to check this one out. And I'm glad I did. Obviously, the ending is so depressing, but as is, I saw the devil in
Oh,
the
this
clothes.
also sort of reminded me of Leon the Professional. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Wait, how so? I can't remember.
Just like the complicated relationship between him and like the little girl, and
Ah,
how
okay.
he like now feels obligated to like take care of her, even though he's just like,
Yeah. Reluctant.
yeah,
Um,
he like doesn't want to, but then like the cop is coming out at him, and he's like, but it's the right thing to do, but he's like, fine.
yeah. And rewatching this, I just absolutely love all the little things. Like, just you seriously feel exactly like, and I guess this is getting into what I love, but you can feel what that girl's feeling as she's walking inside the house. Like she glances over and there's a shovel in the thing, and you're like, oh no. And then when she's in the bathroom
Dude,
and there's that
she also leaves the gate like a crack open. Like she's
yeah,
like, well, maybe I'll escape if I don't close it. And
yeah. Like I know this movie so many times leaves
Little
little
do you know,
glimmers.
he's like the Zodiac killer, where he locks the door the moment you walk in.
yeah.
Yeah, yes. And then oh my gosh, when she opens the window and it's all bricks, you're like, oh no, she's done.
That might be the scariest part of the entire movie. Just like you're like, okay, at
Yeah,
least she
what a
can maybe climb
horrifying. Yeah.
out, and then you're like, all right.
Yeah, no service. I'm also convinced that flip phones need to come back. Flip phones are like the best in
In
movies. I
action movies. I was
love
thinking that. I was
flip
like
phones. It's like
Departed.
yeah, like
Yeah.
the flip phone flipping open, then you see like who's called. Like it's just that's all you need is like a phone number, and that's always like a reveal, and then close, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" Like what's
And
the
Yeah.
number
I
of
love
that
that he
apartment? I
called him the
love
number.
that.
He's like,
Yeah,
yeah, 5584.
yeah.
And
It's
then
like
he just
that's
like
your
looks
number,
at him,
right?
and he's like calling. He's like, answer it, you.
He's like, which one's your phone number? And he's like, oh, 854. He's like, I thought you said you didn't have a phone. Well, he's like, oh, I left it at the house. It's like,
Uh,
yeah, but isn't it weird that you, I just think it's suspicious that you didn't want to give us the number. It's like,
and
yeah,
yeah, I love when the cop is
tosses the
piecing it
phone.
together.
Yeah,
And then he asks him, and then he finally cracks, and he's just like, "I
and then
killed him."
and then like just discovery of like more dead bodies. I don't know why I get like eerie when it's like yeah, and the nine dead bodies. You're like, not nine, no, it's 12. And he's like, and it's just I don't know. I get goosebumps. Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, you
Oh
got
my
more
gosh.
people. Yeah, you're like, what? What do you mean? And it's like we have unsolved murders now. This guy has killed the countless many more people, and but man, oh man, the pimp with the heart of gold kind of reminds me of Leon the Professional a little bit. It's just like a guy that
Or
like
the other
the
guys.
world. Or the other guys.
Oh yeah, Will Ferrell.
needs his gas.
Cameron, your two favorite things.
I think my favorite thing is probably just similar to I think why I enjoyed Clovitch Killer sometimes or so much is I think sometimes it's almost more enjoyable because I don't, especially with thrillers, I think twists and turns, if done right, can be awesome. But I think sometimes is like a crutch where people try so hard to be like, didn't see this coming, did you? And I'm like, that's just because you withheld like facts.
Ryan
And
Johnson and Glass Onion. Thank you.
well, and
Oh,
I
no.
versus like I love kind of like the hidden obvious that maybe you don't want to believe that like that you're trying to like gaslight yourself into like maybe it's not like shovel in the yard. You're like maybe he was gardening, and or it's like then you open like the window and there's a brick wall and you're like maybe it's
Or just
because he
like,
didn't
I
want
don't
sunlight
know,
to get in. Yeah.
or just like a clump of hair still linked to a scalp. Like, I don't know, maybe that, Cameron.
No, and so
The
and
more
I love
obvious detail.
Cameron's like, maybe.
well, no, and so that's what I love too, because also it's weird that how like because that's the other thing too is normally you would expect him to be like super like protective and be like, no, you can't do that, you can't shower. But then like
Yeah, he was way too chill.
his
Yeah,
comfortability is like
way too chill.
unsettling. He's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, sure, of course.
And just
Or
as he
even when
walked
she's
to the
like, I'm
door,
gonna go to my car,
smiled.
and he's like, whatever. And then you find
Yeah.
out the lock's there. You're like, oh my.
Yeah. And then my second favorite thing is probably just the editing. Like the editing is like so evil and cruel. I mean it's sliced really well, but then also it's just like every once in a while it just like reminds you and it'll go back to
Good
like
word
the
choice.
girl like the yeah, it'll go back to the girl just on the floor and her's like and then it'll just cut away and I'm like, okay, what? It's just like reminding you like, oh yeah, this is why it's okay to beat up on this dude. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, I guess.
Well, it's a good reminder of like that race against time where it's like she was bleeding out and you weren't sure if she actually survived, and then it's like, oh, she comes to, she's still conscious, she's still alive. Then she has to, how much therapy, you wake up and there's two other dead bodies in the bathroom that weren't there when you first got knocked out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's kind of a baller though for like being able to get out and like picking up that tile and then cutting herself loose. I'm like, she's a
Let's
baller.
go.
And
Resourceful.
I mean, it was crazy that she like they kind of played on that trope of like every action movie. It's like they get there just in time, and then it's just like, oh no, the serial killer got there just in time. He's like, sorry, that girl is here. Hmm.
Yeah.
I just feel so much safer with you holding that, and I'm like, you shouldn't.
I know. Well, this film tricked us because it did all the same notes. Like Cameron said, you expect him to come in or her or somebody in the last second to shoot him right before he hits her with the hammer. Because it builds all the same notes you see in every typical action or thriller movie. Because the guy's running in the street and he's like sweating and he's like crying and he's gonna get there just in time because he's like slowly bringing up the hammer and he's monologuing. And the girl's just the other cop is right around the corner and she can like come in and stop stop him before he kills her. So it's just like you think it's gonna happen and then it doesn't, and you're like, oh man, this movie sucks.
And at first I was like, she's a terrible cop, but I'm like, you would have blown your cover. Plus, I'm sure that might have been maybe like illegal or like like interacting with a person that was just like released from police custody. I don't know, but like,
Well, she was trailing him behind. I don't know if she heard him killing her, right?
oh no, I know she didn't hear that. I'm just saying,
Oh,
I was like, go in there. He's been there in a long time, but I'm like, but then if you go there, you blow your cover. So it's like, and if he was just taking a long time to choose his snack, it's like then you look like an idiot.
Apples or cheese and crackers. I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
But I don't understand how she
Choosing
didn't
a
see him walking
snack.
out, bro. How did she not see him walking out all bloodied? That's the
there
other
must have
thing.
been a back door or something.
Yeah,
See, it's funny that you mentioned bloody because I like an old time. I'll say my two favorite things. One, I love an old time detective that's no longer doing it, and he keeps impersonating as a cop. I don't know why I really like that. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a cop," and he goes,
Are you a
"Show me your
cop?
badge." Yeah, show
I'm
me
a
your
cop.
badge, and he's like, he just picks up a chair and hits the guy on the head. It's like, give me what I need, dude.
Cameron
And he's like,
rewound that and watched it twice.
I had
the
to
whole
see that
great, dude.
again when he's like,
Boom.
Boom, here's my badge.
Yeah, his head, and then it cuts immediately, and then they swap seats, and he's like
And the guy's just staring
sitting
at him.
comfortably in his thing, and he's like, "Tell me what
Oh,
you
it's
know."
so good, dude.
So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like also to the other cop where he's like, "Oh, what you got like a guy in handcuffs?" He's like, "Are you a cop?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he like finds out he's like, "You impersonated a cop. You're worse than this scumbag," you know? And it's like
Yeah.
this guy is a serial killer.
I
Like
know. I'm
he's
like,
hardly
you guys are
worse.
really saying that a cop impersonator is worse than a serial, like an admitted serial killer.
It's crazy. Yeah, love it.
Well,
So I love a
oh,
character like that that like had and that's why he's really good at deducing. Like when he first crashes into him, he's like, "Okay, give me your number for insurance." And he's like, "No, don't worry about it. I'll go." And he looks down at him, he sees he's bleeding, and he clearly already knows that's not his own blood, which I think is interesting. And then he's like, "Oh, it's the guy," you know, and he's like, "You're dead." And then he like breaks for it. He's like, "Oh, jeez." Like, but anyway, when he's like, "Oh, are you okay? Because you got blood on your shirt." And then, but anyway, then like he's like, "Yeah, I got you," and then he like breaks off sprinting. You're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like he's gonna lose him. That's what my fear was, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah, and then he catches him, and you're like, "Oh snap!" He's like, and what I liked about it, like too, it plays really well with the time thing because I almost think like I'm not sure I don't know. It subverted my expectations. I didn't expect him to admit to it, but then I guess he was trying to think like, how could I get out of this? Like, because that
But
guy's gonna hurt me if I get released.
he's already gotten out of it multiple times. They said this isn't the first time that he's
That's
confessed to a
true.
murder.
Yeah, they didn't have enough evidence. They threw it out or whatever. So.
Yeah, and
Yeah, maybe he just kind
he
of feels like, yeah, they're never gonna get
well,
me.
and he knows too. He's been beat to a pulp. He's just like, hold the power in this.
And
It's like seven. What?
Yeah,
and I loved how like he lost the fight to the ex cop because it's like he's used to beating up on like women with weapons, and so it's like he fights an actual dude, and he's like,
it's the
"Oh, what the heck?
targeting.
Someone who's not tied up, like is actually
That's
like
right.
putting up a fight." And then like I also agree. I thought it was so interesting how he was like so confident, but I loved how he was adapting like in every single circumstance and knew like exactly what he could say. Dude, oh, he's one of those people that you like you just have to put in a different room because otherwise he's just gonna like pester and like just bug you. Like when he's like, he's like, smell, he's like, you're not wearing any perfume. Smells,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Time
Oh,
period. Yeah,
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 and you're like,
creepy guy.
all right,
gross.
you need to put him in a different room, otherwise, like every single cop is just gonna abuse him. I also
It made
love
me
all
think
the
it made
cops
me think
sitting
of the
there just
Joker
smoking in
with
the
it,
hallway.
it made me think of the Joker when he's like talking to that cop and he's like, you know why I use a knife, you know, and he's like, you can savor all the little details. The gun's too quick and messy. He's like, would you like to know which of your friends were cowards? Like it's that same thing where he's just like egging the police on and you're like,
He
stop
holds
it.
all the power.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. He's even though he's captured, he's still very much a dangerous animal. You know, it's I like that. Jordan, how about you? Two of your favorite things.
Well, I just wanted to add to what Cameron was saying about the editing early on. Like, there's so many moments where just like it evokes such an emotion to you. Like, specifically, I'm talking about at the very beginning when she's like, I need to go pee. And then she walks into the bathroom and there's just the door creaks open and there's a guy standing there. It's just like how that is edited. You just feel like, oh, like, what am I seeing right now? It's like terrifying. But then you're like, oh, it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah. I thought it was his first dead victim that we were gonna
yeah.
see. I thought he was the serial killer. That's why
Yeah,
when I watched it, I
just
was like, "Oh, it's another serial killer." And then he's like, "Oh," he's standing there with the camcorder. And you're like,
a
"Okay, that's not
creeper.
a yeah,
And
no,
then and then the very next scene when she calls him a pervert, yeah, perv, and then he's like, "Excuse me," and she starts walking down uh not
the
the street, the
hallway.
hallway,
Yeah,
and then
yeah."
he comes and he moves her head like so
Shoves
quick,
her head,
and then it cuts. It's a
does
hard
it.
cut.
I think he like hit it into the wall or pushed her
Yeah, it's
down.
just
Yeah.
but how he cut it is so perfect. I just
It
thought,
does give it gave me a sense of dread. Yes,
yeah,
100%. I was like, "Oh, he just killed her." Like, and he's gonna go upstairs and find her killed or whatever.
I just how this director
Gonna feed her to the fishies.
I love and it like the Yellow Sea, I love a good scene where guys get out of impossible situations when he's in the car and then he kicks the guy and it smashes into the car and then he's like beating up every guy in the car. It just feels like Nobody or like John Wick. We're just like
Or
going
oh, I was thinking of the other one. What's it? The I Saw the Devil, right? He's in the car with three other serial killers, and he's just like fucking them
stabbing
all.
everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just get me out of this
That is
car.
that might be one of the craziest scenes I've ever seen in any movie ever. And he's just like,
What are the
oh,
chances?
what
Yeah,
a
dude, I need to
yeah.
go. I need to watch I Saw the Devil again, dude. That movie was so good. So
Yeah, well,
crazy.
it was kind of ruined for me watching it with Cameron's roommates because they both hated it.
Well, because again, it's deplorable, right? It's not a
Yeah,
good, and you watch a character, you're like, it's like the almost the Count of Monte Cristo, except he doesn't get the girl or the family at the end. It's
Yeah.
like he sought
yeah.
revenge, and it brought him more misery,
And
and
just
it ended
imagine
up
that
hurting him
he
more.
went to live alone at Chateau d'If.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And didn't get the riches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't get the girl, and lives alone at the prison that he was rotted
But it's
in.
like
Yeah,
at
that
least he
would
got
be.
revenge, right?
Yeah, right. And
Right?
I think that's actually really good because again, it almost seems unfair because you watch it and you're like, oh, well, at least it had a good ending, and you're like, yeah, but you don't learn that revenge is a bad thing. In fact, you think it's a good thing. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, he got his
Which
revenge. Oh, it
that's
felt so good, and then he
apparently
still
that's
gets
very
everything.
different than the book.
Oh, sure. I'm sure it's very different. But again, it's one of those things where the movie ends and you're
It's a
like, oh,
Hollywood ending.
yeah,
Yeah.
they got to give it that ending because it's like people would leave like super dissatisfied and bummed out, and I'm like,
God gave me justice after I, tortured and ruined everyone who tortured me's life. I'm
exactly,
like, oh,
exactly.
good time to repent after
You
getting
didn't think
all
I'd
the
make it that easy
satisfaction.
for you, did you?
Oh, that's so satisfying,
It's
dude.
the gun.
Yeah, no.
British shooters him.
For a gentleman.
Yeah, for a gentleman.
It's like,
And fool.
But it's
I'm
so
just gonna say.
satisfying.
yeah, it is. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's great. So, one other thing, I mentioned flip phones, but I also love everyone's name. It was like her boss is Phil. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yes.
And Meathead or
Meathead.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I like details like that, that are really funny because
Yeah. I love him walking away too after putting in the key. And he was like, wait a minute. Like because he had just done it so many times that he
Oh
didn't even
yeah.
process that like it
Then
went in because he was just like, yeah, okay, okay.
and then he
Going
walked
in.
away.
Wait a minute, did
Wait.
that go in? He's like, so
tries that key and that door opens. He's like, oh. It's not even that dramatic, but I that moment where it like click and you're like, I found what like and it's so sad because it doesn't bring him much closer. It's like this was one of his hideouts before because he's staying at
Yeah.
someone else's place. You're like, oh my fetching gosh, like they're like and then like the detectives digging out in the rain in the hillside, they're trying to find the bodies. It's like so infuriating because like there's so many um what was it like distractions, right? And
Yeah.
red
Well,
herrings, right? Like
that
it's like they're led on a different path, like a wild goose chase,
well,
basically.
because you want, and like I said, based on so many other thrillers I've seen, like you're like, she's just right up the street. Like, can't you just run up there? Like, and it's she's just right there. And it's like he's trying so badly to put the pieces together and he just can't do it fast enough. And
Yeah,
it's so frustrating because you're just like screaming at the screen, like, we know where she is, but you don't. Yeah.
because it's like a different dynamic. It reminds me a lot of Memories of Murder, where it's like you have the guy who you're like, except it'd be like if he'd never confessed to it or we didn't see him kill. Because just in Memories of Murder, you're like, he did it. I don't care. I don't care if he doesn't confess. He did it. Kill him. And it's just like, but like that unknown, and then like receiving evidence that he didn't do it, and you're just like, ugh, it's just so like, it's so frustrating.
mm. Yeah,
Like
and then like
someone
having to let
confessing
him
to it,
go because they didn't have enough evidence after 12 hours. Like we got
See,
to let him go, and you're like, oh my
and
gosh,
this
find
this
something, make an
this also
excuse.
reminds me of Zodiac and how like, dude, getting away with murder was so much easier when like not everyone had smartphones. Oh my gosh, like literally just because of lack, like when they're like, where is he from? And no one has that data. Like the fact that like, because nowadays they'd be able to track you so quick. Like if you like through a picture or through like if you ever access the internet essentially. Back then it was like, well, his address on his government documents is in a different city. It's like, no, well, I saw him and caught him in this city. So he's living somewhere in this city. And that's what I love when he tells Meathead, he's like, see from here to that cross, start trying every house or whatever. And he's like, oh, come on.
And I'm curious, I needed to ask, now that we've watched his three films, Cameron will hopefully watch Yellow Sea soon, but I'm just curious as to which one is your favorite of the three.
I
I'm,
mean, I think Welling's a little bit better than
I,
this.
yeah, I think The Whalings is the best film, then Chaser, then The Yellow Sea, but they're all like up
Yeah.
there.
Both of the ones that I've seen so far are 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, Ty, what about you?
So I have to put what were the three?
The
They were
Whaling,
yeah, Whaling.
Yellow Sea, and The
I
Chaser.
think okay, but I don't. they're both so non-rewatchable. I just like have so
I think The Wailing is the most
Most rewatchable.
rewatchable. Yeah.
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 Yeah, because it's so intriguing, especially the intrigue and mystery surrounding it, because it fills you with dread the whole time. It's kind of like watching Long Legs again. I went and saw it a second time, Cameron. I'm starting to love like just movies that fill me with dread. Maybe because, it's like the only movie that
Makes you
emotion that
feel
still makes me
anything.
Just
give
to
me,
feel
it makes me
something.
just to feel alive. Like I have to watch the most disturbing movie to even feel something. But no, it's as dark as that sounds. It's like I think it's really impressive when you can elicit such strong emotions, whether they're positive or negative, while watching something. Because it's been a while since I've elicited even positive emotions from a movie. Because now I don't know if I'm just too cynical or something, but I see a production and I'm thinking about the actors being paid. I'm thinking about the light design. I'm thinking about the editing. I'm thinking about the sound. I'm thinking about actors doing a job, and it's just weird. And now it's like, oh, and then like I look at messaging too, where I'm like, oh, like how much of this stuff has been shoehorned in here.
Well,
When I
that's
watch
why.
South Korean films, it's like
Yes.
there's none of that. There's
Yeah, and
nothing.
I am zoned in. Like I forget
I'm
everything
so
else.
honed in and I'm
Yeah.
so enthralled with their performances, the editing, like you said, Cameron. It feels so refreshing, and I'm like, I think I am just gonna start making a list of like top 100 foreign films, and yeah, these movies are all going to be in there. So like if I had to say, I would say Wailing goes first. I think I had to watch Yellow Sea again because I have recency bias. I'm thinking Chaser, but then I'm like, again, how long does this list go for? I want to do Memoirs of Murder. Memoirs of Murder. Cure was like one of my
Oh,
favorite,
I
like
just meant with
sleeper
this
hit.
director, his three
Right.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm just thinking like foreign films, but yeah. So for as far as that's concerned, yeah, I would go with Wailing, and then I'll say Chaser, and then I'll say uh, Yellow Sea.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
close. Cameron, I'm excited to hear your thoughts about Yellow Sea. It's really good.
Yeah, it's such a great movie though. And the thing is like, yeah, how do I put it? Like
Well, it's just like
again,
it's just like Nolan for me because Nolan's worst,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
his worst and his second worst film in my
Yes.
opinion are Oppenheimer and The Following
You need to watch Oppenheimer again,
And
dude.
It's so good.
It's
Oppenheimer
so
is
good.
a 9 out of 10 and The Following is 8 out of 10.
Oh, is it really a 9? Okay, well, I'll give it to you then, because that's still a high
'Cause
rating. But yeah,
every single one of Nolan's
Oppenheimer's
films besides his first one are a 9 or a 10.
did Oppenheimer. I listened to Ludwig Göransson. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Ludwig Göransson
Ludwig,
or
yeah,
whatever. Ludwig.
His
Göransson or whatever.
score.
That's
Yeah.
so good, dude.
Hmm.
The music's everywhere. It's all over the
Yeah.
place.
I
It's like,
cannot wait to see this director's next film.
yeah,
Yeah,
can't wait. Oh, is
so
he
good.
making a new one? Or oh, wait, you
No, I'm just
uh,
saying, well, I mean, maybe, but I'm
gotta be
just,
right. I
yeah,
think
I'm just
Bong
saying,
Joon-ho is making a Robert Pattinson movie, and I'm like,
uh,
that's pretty impressive when you have star power like Robert Pattinson, where it just shows him and it just shows the director. I'm like, that's still some power right there, Like I'm like, it's Bong Joon-ho directing,
well, they're gonna drop
starring
a
Robert
trailer
Pattinson.
eventually. That's just all they
I
have
know,
right
but I'm
now.
just saying, like, that's pretty interesting. Where it's like he has enough star power, like Robert Pattinson. He was freaking Batman. Like, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't know who he is anymore. Like, right?
Yeah.
Because I think some people were like, "Oh, wait, it's the Twilight kid who's doing Batman." I'm like, no, it's Robert Pattinson playing Batman.
No, it's the guy from The King. It's you
But
got
dude,
big and a tiny.
talk about movies that we're looking forward to. So any last things you guys want to throw out about The Chaser?
Great movie.
So
Well, I
good.
mean, it's if you can handle very
Watch at your
depressing.
own risk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you like other
Sad movies.
South Korean films, then you'll probably enjoy this because it's kind
Yeah.
of that same vein of like, woo, okay. Yeah.
Maybe
Like if
their
you
lives are just always depressed, and so maybe these are like happy endings to Koreans. I don't know. They're like, oh, it could have been a lot worse.
that's
Could
that's
have accidentally.
that's like I always joke with my buddies the scariest horror movie of all time is La La Land.
It's the scariest movie. That's great. Anyway, so I guess he doesn't end up with a girl.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, why is
Yeah.
it scary?
And I was like, yeah, it's like, oh, because they're different people. It's not the way it's supposed to be. That's so funny. Oh man. Guys, we gotta share what movies we're looking forward to. I'll start. I saw Long Legs in the theater 2 times. I haven't done that since Mad Max Fury Road. I was filled with so much dread watching the first time, and the second one I got to kind of enjoy it more for the
We,
slow, clever things.
you
For
know, we
the
did a whole podcast about it
daddy.
already, Ty.
My daddy, save me from this hell I'm living. It's so
You,
good, dude. Seeing it a second time. In the movie theater, there did I mention the movies I was looking forward to with the trailer? Long Legs?
Maybe,
I feel like we didn't get into that. Maybe we did.
probably, yeah.
I blocked it from my mind, but well, Cameron's here because he wasn't here. Dude, there's a
This
movie
guy's
called
like, I'm just gonna tell
Cuckoo.
you all again.
There's a movie called Cuckoo coming out
Yeah, you mentioned
also
this.
by Neon. Really looking forward to it, Cameron. Have you seen the trailer for Cuckoo, Cameron?
Mhm.
Watch it. It doesn't give anything. Oh, you've seen it. It's got Dan Stevens. Dude, there's some eerie imagery in the trailer. Like
Yeah,
a guy like with those eyes glowing, chasing. Anyway, and then like a scene where a girl's on a bike and like silently this guy's just running after her on the bike. It's terrifying.
yeah,
Watch the trailer. It is so scary and unnerving. Just
yeah.
seeing from a
They showed
distance on
it
the
when I was
wind.
watching Long Legs. They also showed the one with Hugh Grant and like the missionaries.
Heretic. Yes, those
Yeah,
two.
and they also showed like the James McAvoy one, like try it. See no evil or speak no evil.
Oh yeah, that's a remake of a foreign film.
Mm.
See no evil,
See no evil.
or it's
Oh
a
yeah, yeah,
speak
yeah.
no
Like
evil.
the
Speak no
yeah, yeah.
evil.
Yeah,
He's doing the throat.
I think
I
it's
already can
speak no
tell.
evil.
You know what it's going to be. They cut his throat cord.
Well,
And
the funny part about that is
cut
they're
his throat.
so blatantly like showing you because the kid doesn't do that in the foreign version. That's literally a spoiler because in the
Yeah,
foreign version,
they cut
that's the
his
last
throat.
thing
His
you
vocal
find
cords.
out is the kid had his tongue cut out. You never know that, and the kid doesn't go like he doesn't do that to the people. You find that out at the very last 2 seconds of the film.
well,
Like
and they should have left it a little more dubious. Just make it like,
it is,
especially for a trailer. I'm
yeah.
like, make it be like
No, Cameron.
creepy stuff going on.
The stupid fat obese Americans. They may just miss
They
the
might, yeah,
point. They
they
might
might.
miss the
Unless
twist.
you go like this, Cameron, they're not gonna know what's going on.
I'm like, you could have just showed me the scenes where he's like, get the dance right, just get the beat
Yeah,
right,
and that's such a great scene in
and
the
you're like,
foreign version.
what the fudge?
Yeah.
Or even like, how did they market Split? Split made me so excited to see it, and I don't feel like they gave a lot away in Split. Maybe they
I feel like
did.
they literally only showed the opening
Yeah.
scene of the
Dude,
kidnapping.
that's what made me laugh. Like the other M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap, looks so bad. I don't know why. I think the actor's really trying, but like he's like at this daughter's concert. I made a joke. I was like, if my daughter forced me to go to a concert for some stupid teeny bop, like I would kill people. Like like I'd start killing people if I was at a T Swift concert or heaven forbid like a freaking Ariana Grande or
I
Minaj
don't
or something
watch
like
how
that.
you
I'd
speak
kill
about my.
myself. I'd kill myself and everyone else there, like but anyway, like it literally shows him like he talks to some hot dog vendor and he's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but like the police are here looking for the serial killer. He's like telling the plot of the movie in the trailer to a character that is the serial. It's like the weirdest thing. M. Night Shyamalan is twisting himself into a pretzel right
Hi,
now,
the
dude. Like
twist is the little girl is the serial killer.
I would love it if that is the case. I would actually pay to see if that dude, M. Night Shyamalan should go there. He's like Daddy's little girl, and it turns out that the girl she loves some stupid pop singer artist, but also like kills people, and you're like,
Did you see Knock at the Cabin yet, Ty? It was actually pretty good.
I watched like 2/3 of it. I need to finish it and then finish the ending.
Got the guy from
Or,
Mindhunters, right?
no, it's
No,
got Dave Bautista and Rupert
yeah,
Grint and
I'm pretty sure it's got.
oh, the two guys. I think one of the couple, yeah, is from
oh,
Mindhunters.
was it?
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him though
I
because
don't
he
think
just
so.
disappeared into that role
Oh yeah, I was
as a
thinking
gay
the
man.
other guy from
Yeah,
Mindhunter.
I know you were. You're the guy from Iron Claw. Nugget. The dad.
Iron Claw.
Tommy's my favorite, but the rankings can always change.
The ranks can always change.
They can always change. So good.
So yeah, excited for like so many good horror movies now, and then of course Robert Eggers' Nosferatu looks so good.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure doesn't Batman come out this year, or is that next year?
Batman.
Probably not
I
for
haven't
another
seen
year.
or
I think
heard
it's
anything. Is
next
there a
year.
new Matt Reeves, Robert
Yeah,
Pattinson
Batman 2, and apparently like
It-
the villains are going to be like Hush, Killer Croc, and I think Clayface maybe.
Oh, three villains. Oh, well, as long as it's 3 hours.
I kn- I
Then
know.
my
I
wife
was.
can turn to me halfway through the movie and be like, "There is 90 more minutes of this. Don't ruin this for me, dear. This is my birthday movie."
Yeah, our Aunt Chris, she's like, there's not any good movies coming out. And I'm like, not for you, but for me, everything is good right now. It's literally been nothing but horror movies, and it's so good. That's because horror is the only thing making money. So
Yeah, well, so I think we're at the
And Deadpool 3 is
precipice.
coming out, which should be
Yes, I'm
hopefully
excited to see
fun.
Deadpool.
well,
That looks
because
fun.
superheroes have
Got
always
81
been
with comedy. That's pretty impressive, but I think it's just a far enough out there movie
Yeah.
because I don't know what 1 and 2 got. I think 1 was like 80 or 90 also.
I think they're one. I think
Two was
Deadpool
a
1 and
little
2 are like
less.
the two of the highest grossing rated R movies ever.
I thought Logan was. Was that Deadpool? I would believe Deadpool. Probably more people saw Deadpool than Logan, unfortunately. But now it's like you get the best of both worlds. You get Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine. I would be
And
excited
with
to
the
see it.
costume, his costume's so sick, like the OG costume.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll don the masks, as we have yet to see a live action. I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
But it does look, I like it. One thing I will say though, more than that, is what Jordan mentioned about horror movies. It does feel like now that even after watching Long Legs, one, it's made back. It's been rumored to have a $10 million budget all the way down to 2 million. So that's like a micro budget. I mean, my goodness, compared to films now, like I know saying 2 million sounds like a lot of money, but like for filmmakers, it's like the Marvels was like 256 million or something like that. Yeah, Indiana Jones was 230 million. Like these
And
are,
Coherence
yeah,
only needed $140,000, and it shows.
and
Boy,
Coherence
does
is
it
so
show!
freaking good. Dude, I have my in-laws are visiting. I'm gonna make them watch it. We're all gonna watch it together.
So
I'm so
good. Oh
excited.
my
But
gosh.
speaking of
Bro,
low
you add
budget,
a
so
hundred
so
thousand dollars to
Long
that
Legs,
budget, and
it
it's a
performed.
perfect
It
film.
made 46 million, or yeah. So it's made almost more. If it was only 10 million, it's made back 4 times its budget, and if not, only 2 million, it's made like can't do math. 22 times its budget. My math right?
Huh?
Yeah, 44. So like that's awesome. And it's obviously going to signify one, give Oz Perkins another, shot at making another horror film or just the next project he wants to do because he's earned back so much money. But it's also going to signify to studios, hey, we can make our low budget horror movies, but with really good stories. And when they're told really, really well, people will tune in and watch it. And because it was pretty gruesome. I'm sick and tired of like I did not care for Megan that much. I've mentioned it here, I think. M3gan. It's just like a sanitized kid version of horror movies, and I don't like them. I really don't. And then like Imaginary was the same thing. They've just been doing all these like sanitized scary movies. Cocaine Bear was almost right there as well. I know it was like a little more gimmicky and supposed to be comedy. So it wasn't funny and it wasn't outlandish. It was like kind of trying to be serious as a bear that eats cocaine. That should be a fun time. Movies. So I'm just excited when I see movies like Long Legs do really, really well. I'm like, yes, with a skilled director, really as a passion project of theirs, they can really shine. And I'm just really glad that that's the case. And I feel like Jordan, you're right. There's going to be a lot of push for horror movies because they got to make back some of that money, and they're willing to take a risk. And I
Which
think it's a
which is
great
fine with me because horror is my
what a
thing.
cool yeah, and what a cool there'll be a lot of cheap knockoffs, obviously, with the good like Long Legs. We're going to see like 5 more Long Legs, obviously. They're all greenlit now. It's like, how much does it take? A $500,000? Let's do it, And then it's a new serial killer movie. But I'm honestly okay with it. Like if some of them offer something new, because Long Legs felt fresh, even though I know it borrowed from things in it, but it just felt like a throwback to things that we mentioned. So anyway,
But
I'm super excited.
yeah,
Cuckoo and Deadpool and Wolverine and Heretic a little bit, but more so Nosferatu. So anyway, what about you guys? What are you guys looking forward to?
I just wanted to mention one movie that I saw that was really funny that I had to mention. It's called The Condemned. It's literally what's it called? Where they're killing each other, Battle Royale,
Oh, okay.
but they're WWE fighters, so it's like pretty cheesy, but it's so good because the one guy asked this American dude that they throw in there, he's not actually a criminal, but they're like, "Well, tell me why you were on death row." And he just like doesn't tell him, and so he's like, "All right, just put in his bio." And this was literally I had to pause it and read what was in his bio. So it said he was a member of the KKK, but the funniest part that like had me burst out laughing was it said bombed the clinic for the handicapped and mentally and I died. I just the funniest crap I've ever read. But
Oh my gosh, that's
That to
awesome.
make it seem like he's like some
it's
deplorable.
and well, and then in the end credits, right as the movie ends, it starts playing Nickelback, and I'm like, yes, this is the cheese I need. It's so good. It's such a good movie.
That's
Yeah,
really
I saw
funny.
you gave it the same rating as the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I'm like, what is going on?
That's right. I just enjoyed it just as much.
Oh, that's crazy. That's
Dude,
crazy.
sometimes they're guilty pleasures. Like I'll never understand why I gave The Beekeeper 5 stars, and I don't think it's right to take that rating down. But I watched it on an airplane, and I was like, "This is the stupidest movie I've ever seen." But I was like, "They don't care, and I don't care."
But I
Like,
had a blast watching
That's
that though.
yeah,
that's my buddy Ty. He made fun of me on my review of Twisters because he loved Twisters and I thought it was just like fine.
yeah.
And and I said that writing was iffy, and he said writing was iffy coming from the guy who gave Anyone But You 9 or 4.5 stars. And I was like, all right.
Anyone But You. What's that one? I don't know if I've
That's
seen that. Is
so
that...
Sydney Sweeney
bad.
and Glenn Powell.
Oh yeah, no. So
It's so
is that...
fun.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh, that's
it's
right. That's
definitely
the
guilty
comedy one.
pleasure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah.
It,
All
it's
right.
it's
So
a
I
it's like a
saw
remake
it
of
advertised.
Shakespeare, Much to Do About Nothing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I just saw like the Netflix thing is the girl climbing over him in first class and like trying to grab something, and it's like one of those scenes where it's like, oh, he's gonna know, or she's gonna wake him up with her butt in his face, and I'm like,
it, it's the quote from Fight Club. He's like, "What do you want? You want the butt of the?" Because when you have to walk past people, it's like you have to give them either or. Dude, I love Brad Pitt so much. He is
I
I
so
haven't
great.
forgot
seen,
about that line. Do you want the
I
That's a
haven't seen
crazy
Fight Club forever. I wonder if that movie holds up. I liked it the first time I watched it,
Yeah,
but
you can't relive your first experience with it, which
but
is
even
funny
that,
because
yeah,
Cameron liked it better
I
on the
even
second.
knew the twist ending, but I was also like, oh, that's what they mean. Because I also didn't get it. I don't know what I thought. It's
Oh,
like,
it shook my world. I
are they
was
as big
like,
as he is? Who? His mom and his sister. Same person.
same person. I never understand that line.
Yeah, that Edgar Wright line will forever confuse me.
Oh, I still love it. Yarp.
I can't wait.
Anyway, did we already done all
We've
of
done
Edgar
all
Wright's
Edgar
movies?
Wrights.
If he
We're
was gonna make
waiting for
another
his
movie.
we're waiting for Running Man with the guy Glenn Powell.
That's right. I'm kind of Glenn Powell has to be. I think he's like the newest rising star. Like he's in everything now. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
ever since Top Gun, he just like exploded.
But he's
He's been
been choosing the right, like he's being charismatic, but he's also not like being like, I don't know. It's not like a soy boy. He's still going for it. Like even with it wasn't Anyone But You. What was the other movie? He's like a
Hitman.
hitman. Yeah. These
Yeah,
are kind
Jordan
of
gave
like
both
just
of those movies
fine.
half
Yeah.
stars though.
Yeah,
You're
they're not
talking to half of the
good.
right crowd.
No, but I understand. I don't think they're really good, but
I,
I'm like, he is the best part of it. And so
yeah,
that's a
I'll
good,
give you
smart
that.
choice.
Yeah,
That's
he's
a
pretty
smart
much Nick
choice when
Cage.
you're like shining because you become a star. Because you're like, oh, it's the guy from Hitman. It's the guy from Twisters. It's the guy from Top Gun. And then you eventually know his name. It's Glenn
I'm just
Powell.
waiting for him to be in the right role, which Maverick, he was in
Yeah,
the perfect role.
yeah, yeah. Bagman. He
I
was
think
good.
working with somebody like Edgar Wright, he'll be great.
Yeah, yes. Like it transcended, like almost like to where Skarsgård was the clown from It, and then his role in Barbarian. I'm like, I'm gonna know this guy's act. I know his name now, and I'm
Yeah.
interested.
I'm still
He's now
convinced that
playing
he was
Nosferatu,
evil.
and I'm like, there you go. Like unfortunately, he might get gonna go the way of Andy Serkis, where it's like you're just the scary guy. Like you
Or
can't
William
be.
Dafoe. I'm like, has William
Yeah,
Dafoe ever played a nice character?
no,
Oh,
but
and
like,
like all
He's like
his
the
movies, he
yeah,
everything other than Spider-Man, he's actually like and the rat from
Northman and the Lighthouse. Every single scene,
well,
everything. What
well, he's
and then
not a
also
bad
he's
guy.
not a bad
He's
guy.
okay, well he's freaky.
That's
And
different.
also
that's
there was a
amazing.
firefight.
Yeah,
See, he
the
was a good
band
guy
off
in that. He
scenes.
was a detective.
Good is a strong
What are you
word.
doing? I wanted to snuggle.
No, my favorite line is when he's like too far after he'd like,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think I took it too far.
That's how you... Whoa, settle down.
like after he'd done all
Too
that,
far.
then he's like, oh, too far.
So funny. Dude, I love it. Dadgum. Willem Dafoe, man, he's made a career out of being a weird looking
He
guy.
needs to
Steve
be in
Buscemi.
everything.
These men need to be heralded like they're good actors. Like
Yeah,
how else? Because he's not handsome.
I
You need to
don't
get
think
the
he's
role like
ever
Glenn
done
Powell
I
did because he's the most handsome guy in the room.
don't think he's
I
ever had a bad performance.
Yeah,
Who hasn't had a bad performance?
William Dafoe.
he's so
Willem Dafoe.
good. I love him in everything.
Yeah, he's great.
I've been
in
watching.
even in What Happened to Monday, I'm like, is he the best part of this movie?
Oh, he was. He is so good. I love him.
It's awesome.
But
I
yeah,
always forget every time I watch John Wick. I'm like, oh heck yeah, freaking Willem Dafoe's in this.
Yeah, I always forget he's in the
William
first
I
one.
Dafoe's
know,
in John Wick.
Yeah, in the first one,
bro.
Cameron.
Watch the first one, dude. I know every time I watch it, I'm like, Willem Dafoe's in this. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. I'm like,
What
I
the
forget
fuck?
he's in this movie.
I always
Like,
forget that he's in the Northman too, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's just such a weird.
dude, if it's Robert Eggers, it's got Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe.
Yeah.
I'm excited, dude. He's like the detective, right? Or I don't know, the priest, right? For Nosferatu. Awesome. Frick yeah, let's go for it. I'm so excited. I'm here for it. Nosferatu. Vampiro.
All right, Cameron, what have you seen lately and what are you looking forward to?
It's been a sec since I've been on, so there's a decent amount. I watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Again.
Yeah, I saw it in theater because it was showing for $1, which was fun seeing that in theater again. Because I saw it twice in theaters, and obviously 10 out of 10. And then watched Hitman with my cousins, and it was fun. I think that like the idea was all right. It was just like for me it was like a 5 out of 10. Like there were some fun moments and kind of like a clever idea of like pretending to be a hitman. I thought was kind of a fun like twist,
Felt like
but
Master of Disguise.
I've never seen that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it just overall I don't know. It just didn't like land as well that I was expecting. I don't know how to describe it, but and then I watched Sam Morril, his new Amazon Prime comedy special, You've Changed. Thought it was pretty fun. 7 out of 10. And then I watched Your Name, um, which was incredible. For me, it was like a 9 out of 10, and I just thought the animation and the storytelling was super fun because I was kind of expecting like the star-crossed lovers switching bodies, they're gonna eventually fall in love, and then like there was kind of a twist, spoiler, and like they're in different time zones or not even time zones, different time periods. Like she's 3 years from the past, and so he's like Freaky Fridaying with someone who's like 3 years ago and like a village was like wiped out by this comet, and so like he's trying to save this village and this girl that he likes.
Oh, Frequency was a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, it kind of also reminded me of Frequency, of how like trying to save like the mom and like from the killers. And I added it to my top 200, and then watched Liar Liar with the cousins. Dude, that movie is so funny. And I also talked about it in my letterbox review. I'm like, this is also one of those movies that my dad laughs a little bit too hard at the stepdad jokes. He just loves any movie that makes fun of the stepdad. I mean, solid 8 out of 10. I think it's one of Jim Carrey's best performances too. Um,
Better
and
than Dumb
then
and Dumber, huh?
I said one of.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then watched Anchorman, Legend of Ron Burgundy, just the first one, and
I
it's so
rewatched it
funny.
too. It's
Yes,
good.
super. I watched it like out of nowhere just because Jane hadn't seen it a day after you, and then I saw your review. I was like, that's kind of crazy that we watched it like the same time.
Yeah.
And then I showed all the cousins 5 year engagement. So it's the second time I watched it this month. It's just such a fun one to show people because like no one's heard of it, but it has so
Yeah.
many like big name people like Jason Segel, Emily Blunt, and Chris Pratt. And then also I always forget the girl from Community.
Community. Yeah.
Yeah. And then rewatched Prisoners because one of Jane's friends hadn't seen it. Yeah, and that movie is just insane. I always forget because I'm always like, maybe I like overhype it too much. Maybe it's not gonna hold up. And then every single time I'm like, this is a masterpiece. Oh my gosh. It holds up every single time. And then I saw Long Legs in theaters, which I'll kind of give my more extensive thoughts. I just felt like, to me, like the first 2/3 of the movie I thought was excellent, and I loved the ambiguity. It reminded me a lot of Cure, and how it was kind of like these people are dying. There's no sign of forced entry. And I love the ambiguity where you're like, what is going on? There's obviously something going on here, like in foul play, but because these people aren't just murdering each other. And so I loved kind of like what is going on. And then I loved also the mystery of like Nicolas Cage might be in her home, like while she's investigating this case. And like she kind of just this like case was like thrust upon her. I'm like, something else is going on here. And so I
Yeah.
loved all of that buildup. And then spoilers, like I I just didn't like the reveal of like, oh, it's all paranormal. I just felt like that kind of like because I liked the ambiguity and like because there was a bunch of plot holes, like, but that's the whole point of a thriller mystery is there's plot holes, and that's why you're like trying to fill in the gaps, and you're like, I don't understand, how are these people dying? And then when it was like, oh, it's because like they let a voodoo doll in, and then it like corrupts them all to kill each other. And then I was just kind of like, what? It was like unsatisfactory. I thought like and I just watched the video too on TikTok of all the times that the horns were in the background that you like didn't see. Holy fudge. That's the thing too. Maybe I'm just too desensitized. I was expecting it also to be way more graphic and like freaky, but it was just like it was definitely intense. But I don't know. I wish it would have steered clear of the paranormal, because I felt like the paranormal was more of a crutch for like some like maybe errors in writing, just because I felt like it could have been such a good thriller, because it would have been like a Seven or a Cure, or kind of like one or Silence of the Lambs, where you're just like, because that was the thing I also personally just love getting more into the psyche of the killer than necessarily like, oh, it was all for the devil. And I was kind of like, you didn't get like any gratification or any satisfaction. Like if I was a detective, I would have been unsatisfied. Also, I'm like, we're just gonna let Nick Cage smash his nose in and no one's gonna stop him. I'm like, I get you're a little shocked. You're also an FBI agent. Stop him from killing himself. I'm like, that's literally your job. Like I get you're like, oh, I'm horrified. Step back. And I'm like, and it makes for a great shot. But I'm like, maybe we should prevent the witness or the suspect from killing himself. But that was insane. And I also freaked me out kind of how that's why we had to listen to some like upbeat music on the way home, because just like the last line of the movie being Hail Satan, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, some of the dialogue, like in the scene with at the like the birthday party, when he was like, "Oh, we're gonna go in the kitchen." She's like, "Yeah, we'll be right back from the kitchen." He's like, "No, I'll be back from the kitchen. You'll stay in the kitchen." I was like, "Okay, so are we just gonna shoot him right now, or like what are we waiting on?" Just do. I was so mad. I was like, "Why are we not murdering him? And why are we shooting the mom earlier than that?" She's just like, "Oh." Micah's just sitting there in like awe and disbelief. I'm like, so we gonna start, unloading that clip or what? But overall I still think it was like enjoyable. I don't know that I would rewatch it. I would maybe rewatch it just if someone like I was with a group of people who hadn't seen it and really wanted to watch it. Because I still think if like, especially if you like thriller and really enjoy like horror elements, I think you would enjoy it. Um I just didn't love, because I felt like the wailing was even better, like because I felt like it didn't totally lean on the horror like too much. Whereas I feel like this one just leaned a little bit too much on the paranormal, where it was like, oh, this just explains it all. And I'm like, it honestly makes me more confused. Because then I'm like, so he's creating the dolls in the basement and just they're like infused with the devil? Like, and then the devil is just like controls them into killing them each other. I just didn't really understand a lot of those things. And so like and it was just heavy handed to me, where it's just like, let me just quick monologue and explain for you. And I was like, all
Yeah.
right. Kind of this been like a little bit of deductive. She is an FBI agent. um, and then watched Twisters last night in theaters, and it was pretty enjoyable. I like nothing super fantastic or like mind blowing, but I mean that's kind of what I expected. I kind of just expected like a blockbuster, like popcorn flick that is like, oh yeah, it's gonna be kind of intense at parts. Um, but there's something wrong with me, because I catch myself every time in disaster movies laughing just at inappropriate times. There's because like Titanic, like when the dude hits the wheel, like or like the propeller, I'm laughing every time. And then like in this one, there's like a scene where he's like, I got you. I'm not gonna let you go. And then he's like, everything's gonna be okay. And, and I was just like dying laughing. And then there's also just like crazy deaths where like people are like, they're like, get down, get down. He's like, I can make it. And then he just gets like sucked up. But yeah, it was fun and enjoyable. Like a solid 6 out of 10 for me. And then I've also just been watching a ton of different parts of TV shows. So I've been watching some House of the Dragon with Jordan, and y'all are crazy. The most recent episode was the lowest rated of the entire series so far, and it was excellent. So y'all are
Yeah.
crazy. And then watch some Adventure Time with Jake. I started Dexter with Jake.
How
Uh,
far in did you get?
we just watched the episode 2. Well, we just like kind of skimmed through 1 just to like refresh my mind, and then we did 2, and it like the cheese is like starting to kind of I'm starting to kind of warm up to it because
Oh, please, yes.
I just love um the thing I didn't realize I would love so much is I love the internal dialogue. It just reminds
Yes.
me so much of Light Yagami
Yeah.
that I just love how he just like looks down on like people and just like like his interactions are just so like um so much like a sociopath that it's so
Yeah.
well it's just like he just sees people as like tools like Homelander says tools for our amusement.
Yeah.
I just think it's so fun seeing him like kind of like talk it through and just figure it out. And I love how intrigued he is by like this serial killer. Like it's just
Leaving,
like
yeah.
it's like a dating game. They're like playing hard to get with each other. I'm like, what the fudge? And then watch some of uh Fallout. Not I'm always like I'm just not a big apocalyptic guy. Like I
Well,
don't think
and it's also Western. Western's also not a
yeah,
subject you
and
care
so
about.
yeah, and so like it's like Western and apocalyptic, and I've just never found that genre to be super compelling. I just feel like there's too many liberties taken, like when there is apocalyptic, where it's just like, oh, now there's this, and because of radiation, this, and I'm like, sure, I guess. I guess it makes sense that he has like a face that's just worn off, and now weapons have advanced. I'm like, interesting. And then I've watched some of the My Adventures with Superman, which surprisingly I'm really enjoying, but I also am just like for the DC universe. And so and it's actually kind of got a fun romantic element to it that I was not really expecting because normally I hate Lois Lane, think she's super annoying and obnoxious, and I also think like Clark is super unrelatable, and I'm like he's literally invincible. This is not like enjoyable at all. Like, how can I relate to this dude? But it's kind of fun that they're making you relate to him of his human like parts of his life and not trying to relate to you like through his powers. Because usually they're trying to be like, oh well, like he helps kittens out of trees, and I'm like, I don't give a. I'm like that is not relatable to me. I'm like I don't do that on a daily basis. So I love that they're kind of showing like, oh, he still has to have like a job, has a crush, gets nervous for dates, like still has all these like wants and desires. I'm almost finished with season 4 of The Boys, and yeah, it's pretty insane. Apparently the season finale is really good, so I'm excited to finish that because like it's good. I mean, it's
Don't
just so
don't
hard.
spoil. I'm almost caught up.
It's just so hard. I just don't think any will ever beat season 1 and 2 of The Boys. Like I just can't see a season of The Boys getting better than it was season 1 and 2. Just because I felt like it was so like enjoyable and just like I don't know. And then I also watched the first episode of it's called
That's because they
the
went woke, baby.
the
That's funny.
legend of Vox Machina, and it's essentially just like a D&D. It's like a D&D campaign brought to life through animation, and it's kind of interesting. And but I was not expecting to have in it, and I was like, oh, what is going on? I was like, all right. And then also just been grinding on Game of Thrones, and we're currently on season 6, no, season 5, I think. Yeah, so
Man, you're
it's
watching like 13 different shows. Holy
I know
cow.
my brain is like going back and forth. I'm like, oh fudge. Okay, let me. That's why I'm like Jordan. I have to watch these recaps because I'm like, okay, especially watching House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones at the same time. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
okay. I'm starting to remember. But yeah, and then just looking forward to continuing the series that I already mentioned. But then also there's a Batman animated series coming out in August, and it's being executive produced by Matt Reeves and was being produced by the guy who made Batman the animated series, and then it's being executive produced by Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams. And so I'm like, ooh,
Mystery box.
so I'm pretty excited about that. And then I just keep seeing Meet Joe Black. Every single time it's like a person that is recommending movies, and it's like if you love sad movies, and it shows me like some of my favorite sad movies like Manchester by the Sea, Her, and Meet Joe Black. And then I'm like, I need to watch this movie. But every single person I've ever talked to about this movie in person is like, oh yeah, I got through like 30 minutes and I fell asleep. Or like, yeah, it was like the slowest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think that was me too. I don't think I finished it.
Yeah, and it's funny, Drew has it on VHS and it's 2 separate VHSs, and I'm like, "Goodness." So, I just gotta commit one night and just say, I'm watching this," because I love Brad Pitt and, like, it's kind of like I love the concept. It sounds like super kind of big idea and, like, really enjoyable. So, just kind of like death, trying to experience life for, like, a day. That sounds really interesting to me. So, peace.
Dadgum. I love you guys so much. Get out of here.
Peace.
Bye.
Your family's messed up. Your family's all messed up.